Welcome back to our YouTube channel, guys. My name is Aldo, and today's video is all about a Porsche Boxster S that we're upgrading as part of a behind the sound series. If you haven't done so already, we've actually got episode 1 live already. Check it out by clicking up the link up here. But today's video is giving you guys an update about where we're actually up to, but also showing you a little bit more about in-depth design work and what actually goes on in getting a system sounding absolutely incredible. Let's go. But before we get on to today's video, make sure you guys at home have subscribed to our YouTube channel, because we've got a massive competition live on our channel at the moment. We're giving away a brand new PlayStation 5 as well as an Audison Amplifier. All the details are in the description below. However, let's get on with today's video. Let's run you through, to start with then, the actual system itself. In terms of the higher frequency ranges, how are they being played and how they're being dealt with? They're actually being upgraded with the Hertz Melee Pro tweeter, an incredible tweeter that actually sits in a full stock location. Factory location is right on top of the dash. Obviously, with this location, one challenge that we actually have to face with is obviously the sound waves, how that actually portrays into the vehicle. It's directed directly up straight into a windscreen, which obviously is dispersing sound waves. So how are we using that, and how are we actually getting a brilliant sound in the vehicle, even though we're in a stock location here? Obviously, there's always a little bit of a compromise when you're working inside a vehicle. However, the reason why we've done this into a stock location, and the reason why it's still going to sound absolutely amazing, is because of the processor we're using. We're actually going to be able to tune the system and actually move sound around the vehicle. And make sure you stay tuned. It's going to be a full tuning video, which we might talk a little bit more about that, because that's an important part of the system. So that's the higher frequencies being dealt with by the Hertz Melee Pro tweeters into that stock location. However, they're only the higher frequencies. We've now got to discuss and talk about the lower end and how we're going to fill that sound in the vehicle. Let's move over and check that out now. So now, working down that frequency range, we're talking about the Hertz Melee Pro 3-inch speaker that we've got mounted into a complete stock location. Inside, this is actually the back of the door card that you can see now. What you actually got is the 3-inch mid-range completely installed into a stock location using a custom built 3D printed ring, and this is all done in-house, guys. The reason why we're using a 3D printed ring is not only in terms of actual performance of the actual product, it's going to perform better in this location, but the other thing is we actually done it in such a way where there's no modifications done at all behind this door card, so it can be completely reversed, and all of this equipment can safely be removed and actually go into another car later on, and the vehicle behind the scenes is all kept completely intact, which is an essential part on doing a lot of the upgrades that we do. And this is all configured during that audio consultation, where I sit down with you and go through everything in terms of the design spec and then the install with you guys as well. So inside here, we've got the Hertz Melee Pro 3-inch mid-range, separating that sound between that tweeter, which is the higher frequency range, and the 6.5-inch driver, which we'll move on to shortly. I actually want to show you something very important, but a very small part. It's actually called an XD60 connector. You see this little connector here, you would have seen it featured on a lot of our installs. Why are we using this little connector? We don't use bullets. We do, obviously, in terms of a solder join, which obviously we do across the rest of the vehicle, this is an essential part of actually adding on a component like the mid-range onto this vehicle. Reason is because this door card, as it's off the vehicle right now, is a part that does need to be removed from time to time, whether that be by Porsche, by ourselves, or by anyone else later on down the line. To make life easier, future-proofing the install, we add these little connectors into any speaker or terminal that we need to actually quick release connector. That's exactly why we're using connectors like this. Just like the manufacturer does, they use connectors like this one right here. We can actually remove that with ease and remove the door card completely. Same with our install, follows the same line as alongside manufacturer wiring and alongside the same methods that manufacturers are using to future-proof the install, make sure everything is very, very serviceable. As you can see as well, everything is soldered onto the speaker. Then you've actually got cloth tape to stop any rattles, resonations. Moving on to rattles and resonations, I want to talk to you about soundproofing. You can see on the back here, you've actually got quite a lot of this silver reflective material. That is not part of actually the Porsche standard equipment. This is skin soundproofing. This is stuff we've added in to reduce rattles and resonations. What this is a 3mm layer. It gets cut up and manipulated to actually go around all key areas inside a door card. But very important that it's actually not covering factory nuts and bolts and also factory connectors that might need to be accessed later on. But it's reducing that rattle and resonation, building a far better environment. But let's go check out even more soundproofing inside the door. A lot more soundproofing has actually been installed into the door itself. This is building a far better environment for the sound system working, reducing those rattles and resonations, but also what it's doing is actually getting rid of some of that road noise as well. So this has all been applied across areas, but as you can see, we've actually not covered up modules, factory bolt positions that are needed to remove the door card or get in the way of anything alongside manufacturer. And they've also got behind this layer another layer. So there's 3 layers as part of the soundproofing system that we're doing on this Porsche. In terms of the actual mid bass in the vehicle, where's the depth actually coming from in terms of those sound inside the vehicle? And that's all down to the 6.5-inch woofer is a Hertzmille Pro range. So we've got a full Hertzmille Pro setup, which is the tweeter, the 3-inch mid-range which you saw earlier, as well as the 6.5-inch driver, performing a really nice soundstage in the vehicle and creating a lot of mid-bass in a now very acoustically soundproof door, which makes a world of difference. One thing I also want to talk to you about is how we've done this install. This is actually in a custom MDF mounted ring. That's actually a baffle that we've made and designed in-house, which actually allows for the factory bolts positions and also factory bolts themselves to bolt down this speaker, providing a lot more mid-bass. And it's very important that the actual speaker ring itself is done incredibly professionally, because any gaps around here is going to lose mid-bass frequencies, and it's an essential part to actually having. So it doesn't actually matter as good as your speaker and mid-bass can be in your door, if your install is not done completely perfectly like the ones here are done, if you have gaps around speaker rings, if it's not built properly, you will be losing a lot of mid-bass, and that's why these are so important. We're now going to be talking about the amplification and how this system's all powered. So let's talk about power. How's the system, how are these speakers actually going to be performing? We're using the Audison Prima 8.9 amplifier, so that is 8 channels of amplification. But you might be thinking, well, we've only shown you the tweeters, the mid-ranges and the mid-bass in the door, so that's only 6 speakers. Why are we using an 8-channel amplifier? We're actually utilizing all 8 channels in this system, and let me walk you through that right now. Channels 1 and 2 are running the tweeters, 3 and 4 are running the mid-ranges in the doors, those 3-inch Hertzmille Pro. 5 and 6 are actually running the left-hand side mid-bass, and 7 and 8 are actually running the driver's side mid-bass, those Hertzmille Pro 6.5-inch drivers. You might be thinking, well, how are we using 2 channels to actually run that one speaker? The reason and how we're doing that is what's called bridging channels on an amplifier. It means we're sending more power to get even more out of those 6.5-inch drivers, providing a lot more mid-bass and creating a really nice soundstage in the vehicle. Obviously, that is how the amplification is set up, but we're actually going to be filming a tuning video, so stay tuned. Make sure you guys at home subscribe, because there'll be a full tuning video where we talk about bit tune and actually going through a little bit more detail about how the setup is done to get the car sounding absolutely incredible. The amplifier itself is really neat, hidden away, Class D amplification, so it's very compact in terms of its size, but in terms of the actual performance, it provides a really, really nice amount of output that's not only going to give an increase in volume, increase in clarity, and also a beautiful sound stage once it's all tuned and set up correctly. Just want to give you guys a massive shout out. Thank you very much for watching today's video. Hopefully you found it a benefit to you guys and also learned a little bit more about what's actually involved in doing a system. But we have got the tuning video coming up next time, so make sure you guys at home subscribe, like and share with friends and family. We'll see you next time.